cannot be anything decided and agreed about NATO and Europe without NATO and Europe. And this is exactly what we are going to discuss today. So what can we do more? Very concrete things. To put pressure on Russia much more. I do hope that Ursula von der Leyen will share today the legal papers about how can we use the Russian frozen assets. Because this is a leverage that Europe has. No one else can use them. And the principle that aggressor must pay is there. And I do hope that this legal paper will be put on the table today and Europe can decide. Because if Europe wants to be recognized in this process, where we design actually the European security architecture, we must make decisions. It's not only about the sanctions. We prepare the next sanction package. But this is about Russian frozen assets. And we need to give the guarantee for Ukraine that funds will be there. And our taxpayers will not pay more, but Russia will pay more. So this is now the most important thing. The second thing is about how can we support Ukraine more. And today we're going to discuss as well the PURL mechanism. Estonia, together with the Nordic Baltic states, decided to participate in PURL mechanism as well with 500 million euros worth military support to Ukraine. It must continue. All the others should as well to put more support in. But also we must move forward with the security guarantees to Ukraine. If the just and lasting peace coming, if there will be momentum of the ceasefire, which actually Ukraine is asking, and Putin can actually offer it very quickly if he wants to have it, though we must give Ukraine security guarantees which are working, which are not just written on the paper. So, of course, Estonian position is clear that Ukraine position and future will be in NATO, but probably it doesn't happen right now. Though we must decide as a coalition of the willing, together with US, to give the security guarantees, what means that Europe must put the skin in the game. It means the boots in the ground, if there is need for that. Estonian government already in March this year decided that if there is a need, and this with the formation of the coalition of the willing security guarantees, boots on the ground, we will participate. Even we are the neighboring country and a small country to Russia. And we are the front line on the east to NATO. But we must understand that if we can keep the peace in Ukraine, then we are securing Europe as well. And of course, as I mentioned before, Russia will remain the long-term threat. We're going to decide and discuss today as well about what NATO can do more. As you know, we have lots of different hybrid attacks. We have lots of different actions which Russia is organizing in Europe. Estonia was under heavy violation of the airspace in 19th of September this year. And we have called as well 2 NATO missions. One is Eastern Sentry and the second is the Baltic Sentry. And we need to increase as well the capabilities on the eastern flank. The latest news, not only from the Baltic states and Poland, but also in the middle of Europe, they are really deeply concerning because Russia is pushing more and using the secret services and attacking our people, our assets. So this is not a joke anymore. Russia is an aggressive country and NATO must be prepared for that as well. So thank you very much.
Is this a preemptive measure? Ready to go at war against Europe if necessary? What do you make of such comments?
I think that Putin is deeply concerned if he won't be successful to push Ukraine back and having this kind of deal that Ukraine be under the restrictions and heavy pressure, and the other way around. If we're going to use the Russian frozen assets, if we are putting more pressure on Russia about the sanctions, as well, the European Union is preparing the tariffs about all the import from Belarus and also Russia. So we have lots of leverages to push Putin. So he's using these typical tactics to play with our fears. But worst thing, Europe never attacks Russia. We will never do it. NATO never attacks nobody. So this is just, playing with our minds and putting you as well, asking the question from me. But I think that we don't need to take it seriously.
Minister, So how would you comment on corruption scandals in Ukraine?
Any kind of corruption is a bad thing. As you know, Estonia is on the top in the world about anti-corruption positions. But good thing is that Ukraine institutions actually dealing with that. Everything is public, and as well, President Zelensky has made very tough decisions about these persons who are connected to that. But let's see what is behind that.
Minister, how can you make sure that the US is seriously taking European interests into account in the peace negotiations?
Europe must put a leg on the ground. We must actually decide what we are going to do in Europe. Putin cannot decide over us. And as well, US cannot make decisions instead of us. So just one very precise example is about Russian frozen assets. We are talking about more than 200 billion euros what are in Europe. So this package, what I do hope that will be decided very soon, will be like 140, 160 billion euros. And this is something that Europe actually putting itself around the table to negotiate what kind of deal will be in the future. And this is the leverage what Europe has. And this is a huge money which will fund Ukraine for a long period, and giving as well, and will give as well a very clear support to Ukraine to decide itself what to do. So we cannot put Ukraine the weaker position, because they are victims actually. So Europe has many things to do. Okay.
Are we all just kidding ourselves with these negotiations? I mean, every time Witkoff goes to Moscow, we act like Putin can be convinced to all of a sudden be for peace. Isn't this naive and even illusory to some point?
It's not naive, this is reality. But I said before as well that Putin is not changing his goals. We must focus on these actions, what can bring this, that Putin should change his goals. Now Putin is putting conditions on the table, and we would like somehow to discuss about this. No, we must put more pressure on Russia. We know how to do it. There is a plan. There is a plan for that. We have sanctions, we have frozen assets, we have support to Ukraine. Ukrainians are fighting. Actually, Putin would like to carry the narrative that he's winning the war. But please, all of you, follow what is really happening on the battlefield. There is no strategic breakthrough. There is no any kind of strategic success. But he's just putting this on the table, and everybody is very deeply concerned that we need to now make a deal. You know, Estonia never will recognize the change with military power of their territories. So, as US never recognized the Soviet occupation in the Baltic states. So, we have lots of leverages. We need to support Ukraine, but you are right. We don't know exactly what is happening in Moscow and during these negotiations. Let's hear our Ukraine friends.
Why Ukraine now joins the NATO? Can you tell us?
Because whoever would like to join the NATO, they must have a free will to do it, but then we need a consensus. And it's pretty obvious that we have no consensus amongst the NATO members. Okay, thank you. Some others coming. Thank you.